What's up, y'all? It's your boy. I found out that the storm ruler still works in the boss area. As you can see earlier, I did not go through a fog gate, so the storm ruler does work outside of the boss fight with the Stormbringer, or Storm Captain, Storm Boss, or whatever. Storm Ruler. Oh, and in case you're wondering, the other day I did find out how to waterproof a flat roof. Apparently it needs about 2 coats of bitumen primer and right around 2 coats of bitumen coating. But that's about the full extent of it. As you can see, this is a great place to grind. I lose almost nothing whatsoever. And gain like something stupid, like damn near 20,000 souls. Right around 2 coats of bitumen primer, right around 2 coats of bitumen coat, all weather. Should be relatively cheap. So I talked earlier about knowing the rules of the game and then taking advantage of your knowledge. And I think that that's another good Dark Souls thing. Oh, that was the other reason I was there. Well, you know what? I could probably do something here. Okay, what are we thinking? Let me do this. Nope.
Nice stuff, eh? Come again then. I'll be awaiting.
So yeah, knowing the rules of the game and taking advantage of that fact, I think is another Dark Souls lesson. Dark Souls life lesson. Problem is, I don't know whether or not the filthy woman in 5.1 has moved on to 5.2 simply because I beat the Leechmonger. That would make sense for her to do so. Oh, what the fuck? There we go. It would make sense for her to do so, but if she hasn't, then she's got something I can use to upgrade this damn mace. And it turns out the bear bugs on in 2.2 are in fact weak to bashing. Weaker to bashing than they are to other things. Damn it. So they, so I'm out here trying to buy upgrade materials. Son of a bitch. The filthy woman has upgrade materials for the blessed mace. And if I've got a +5 blessed mace, then maybe I can do a fair amount of damage. And maybe I could get the biggest bashing weapon in the entire game with the most damage, and then convert it into a blessed weapon, because I think they are, or maybe I can convert it to a crescent weapon, because I think they're vulnerable to magic as well. They're also weak to bleed, poison, and toxic, I think. So, getting them with something and then waiting it out, that's an option. Finding something to let them die off slowly. So where am I going with this? This whole know the rules, and then therefore, because you know the rules, you can take advantage of that knowledge. Where am I going with that? Well, lots of different places, actually. It's a lesson that can it can completely transform your life in a lot of ways. So, there used to be a subreddit. I'm trying to remember what the hell the subreddit was, but it was dedicated to people who have found a way to beat the system one way or the other. And maybe it was just a thread on life hacks or something like that. But I can remember there's plenty of different ones that were like that, where it was just like, hey, how did you find a system and how did you beat that system by taking advantage of the rules of the system. Like there was a couple that you could look up. One of them had a university that would reward you with university merchandise whenever you wore like a fitness tracker, but they hadn't secured the program, so he set his height to be like 1 inch tall. And because he set his height to be like 1 inch tall, that meant that every time he took a step, the system tracked that he had taken like a bajillion steps, because he would have to if he was 1 inch tall in order to travel that distance. So he logged just a ton of steps in each day, and got access to unlimited amounts of university merchandise. He would just like, he would take orders from people. He'd be like, yeah, what do you want, you know? 15 t-shirts, you know? And so he would like take orders from people. So that's one example. But there's a lot of non-specific examples. While I was in the Navy, I came across a lot of people that thought promotions worked differently. And even whenever they were confronted with evidence of the contrary, they still thought promotions was mostly favoritism. So the way that promotions worked in the enlisted Navy was that you took a test, and the test it determined whether or not you advanced, and it was a very simple system that was laid out very, very understandably. But still, people would insist that there's some sort of favoritism going on. Now, there was a couple of extra points that you could get from having an evaluation done on your real-life performance. And if you did good on that evaluation, if you got either a must promote, you could get a promotable, which is like normal. You can get a must promote, which is like exceptional, and then there was early promote. You know, you're being recommended for an early promotion because your behavior has been extraordinary. You know, out of this world, absolutely the best at your job and everything that you've ever done in the Navy. And so, you know, like I said, you could get a couple of points by sucking up to your superiors so that they would give you a good evaluation. But those couple of points didn't translate into everything for the test. And there was, it was completely transparent. You could look it up online and see exactly how many points you could get for a must promote, exactly how many points you could get from an early promote, exactly how many points you can get from passing the test. Because also, if there's like 600,000 people in the Navy that are all taking the exact same promotion exam, Jesus Christ. You guys see that kill animation? That was incredible. So if there's 600,000 people taking the exact same promotion exam, and there's only like maybe 200,000 people in the promoted rank that you're trying to go for, then, oh shit, I keep forgetting about the damn rats. Fucking plague rats. Oh, you know what? Nope, never mind. I have arrows, but I don't have the time to switch armaments. I fucking knew it! I'm plagued, and there isn't shit I can do about it because I didn't pack any anti-plague shit. And if you're wondering, the spell antidote does not cure plague. So isn't that just a barrel of laughs? Oh, there's another one. But like I said, if there's about 200,000 people in in the rate and rank, or otherwise known as job and rank, of what you're trying to go for, and there's actually only like 6 spots open, then they have to do a little combo of different things. And so, like, just passing the promotion exam at that point does not mean that you're going to get the promotion, because there's so few spots available for you. At some point in time, I was one of 3 people in the entire United States Navy that made E5 in my job, which was Master at Arms, MA2. I was one of 3 people on base to make MA2, E5 in my job, whenever the entirety of the Navy only had like very few positions available. I can't remember what the number was, but it was low, like 10, 20, 30, something like that. It was very, very low. So I had a very low chance of success, but I succeeded anyways. And I found out that somebody who was directly superior to me position-wise, not rank-wise, someone who was my direct superior position-wise, had made had taken the exact same test, but he phoned it in because he didn't think he was going to make it. So just because I tried and he didn't, I made it. And it was such a it was cathartic to know that the only reason that guy, well, the only reason I made it is because I tried and he didn't. And, you know, he was put in his position because, you know, he was an ass kisser. But I now outranked him. So, so he had to address me with a great deal of respect. I still had to listen to him because he was the one that doled out work and whatnot, and I had to do the work. But now he had to treat me with a great deal of respect, even though he was this, you know, ass kisser. There should be another one up there. There's 2 that falls from that height. Well, maybe I activated him earlier somehow. So just knowing the rules, but now for even less specific situations. Yeah, that's cool for those of you who are going into the Navy or whatever. And it doesn't even apply to all the branches, because the way promotion works in the Air Force and the Army, it's different. I think there's an actual like board of people that you have to report to, and so there's a lot more room for ass kissing. in those branches. So for something a little bit more specific, or something a little less specific, fuck me. I forgot about this guy. What the fuck? I aimed correctly. Oh my goodness. I'm gonna fight my way all the way back. Whatever. So for something a lot less specific, let's go back to the box that I'm building. So I'm trying to build a box to live in. Not a cardboard box, but a box. I'm trying to build a box to live in. Because I currently live in a mobile home. Now the mobile home that I live in was gifted to me by my uncle. He just went ahead and gave it to me. I'm in the Midwest. There's like a thing in my family where there's a certain amount of toxic masculinity and stuff like that in my family, and because of it, men don't really go to the doctor too often for any reason, much less mental health care to talk about their feelings and whatnot. So my uncle lived here with his late ex-wife, who died after the divorce, and not here in the mobile home I'm currently in either. So there's two monkeys that you can get off your back right away. My uncle didn't kill his ex-wife, and she didn't die here. She died of an overdose. She was a very much a drug addict. Never really got the treatment that she needed to break the habits, so to speak. But because there's this sort of toxic masculinity, and people don't really go to the doctor for any reason, much less mental health care, talk about their feelings, and men in my family don't really talk about their feelings and everything. My uncle does not like being in this mobile home at all. It brings up bad memories of his ex-wife. She was not just a drug addict and stuff like that. She was also abusive. At the end of the day, if you create laws, then you create criminals. So, imagine that you made spinach illegal, and now spinach is a drug. But people continue to eat spinach because, I don't know, it's high in iron or some shit. You know what I mean? What I'm trying to say is somebody who's a drug addict isn't automatically a bad person in my worldview. That's the point I'm trying to make here. So yeah, she was a drug addict who eventually died because of that particular addiction. But that does not make her a bad person. No, she was a bad person because she was highly abusive, very possessive of my uncle and everything. So he eventually lucked out. He found a lady who's incredible, had already had a couple kids of her own, and you know, no complaints. However, he doesn't like being in this mobile home, even though it's his. You know, he bought it. He fixed it up. He did everything to it. He spent a lot of his life in it. He remodeled it. He spent a lot of money on it. You know, so like sunken cost fallacy and everything. But he didn't want anything to do with it. So after the divorce, he moved out to a different home, and that's where my little brother currently lives. My little brother had a kid very early, at like age 16 or some shit like that, because now my uncle lives with his current wife, who again is, you know, I don't have a single complaint about his current wife, and I don't think anybody does. Maybe she does about herself. Maybe she's hard on herself, but the rest of us, you know, we think that she's incredible. But he just gifted me this mobile home and said, like, yeah, you can have it. I don't want it. I don't want anything to do with it. But there was 15 years of neglect on this mobile home, and because of that, it did a lot of damage. Now, mobile homes are not as permanent of structures as regular homes. They're not designed to be, and it's impossible for them to be. You cannot have a mobile home that lasts as long as a regular home, because it's just not possible by engineering standards and whatnot. You also can't have a mobile passive home. That's also pretty much impossible by engineering standards. Technically, you could make one with vacuum insulated panels, but those are extremely expensive proprietary technology. So that leaves me with two separate problems to try and fix as a complete layman in this regard. One of those problems is that the place that I live in, the thing that I live in, the object, the house, if you want to call it that, the mobile home that I live in, has holes in it. You know, it doesn't matter how much insulation that I put in here or anything. If I don't seal up all the holes, then it all goes out the door, you know? So, yeah, I could start a big fire. I could, you know, put a good heating system in. I could do anything I want. But if all of the heat that I produced by one means or another here in the mobile home, here in the trailer, if all of that heat goes out an open window, then I have to replace that window, or else, you know, it's never going to stay inside. You can start 1,000 fires inside you can start 1,000 fires inside a place with no door and stuff like that. You can start a bonfire outside, and it'll keep you warm as long as you're near it. Otherwise, you know, you're not going to heat up the entirety of planet Earth, you know? So that's one problem that I have to conquer. The second problem is that... Okay, so now we're going to deal with plague rats the proper way, from a distance. I'm not going to get inflicted with plague. And everything's going to be okay in my life. I'm going to have a good run. I'm going to find the filthy woman. We're going to recover my souls. We're going to buy the upgrade materials that I want. And everything's going to work out. Right? Right? So, so that's like problem number one. Problem number two is the insulation. You know, first I have to solve the problem of sealing this structure. One way or another. Then I have to solve the problem of the insulation itself. Mobile home manufacturers have to make the mobile home a certain size for it to be movable. You bastard. So if you're going to put enough insulation on it to keep the place warm, then you're either going to make the entire thing too big by putting the insulation on the outside, or you're going to sacrifice living space on the inside. So most of the time, mobile home manufacturers simply don't bother. They'll put enough insulation in or whatever, but they'll spend a bare minimum amount on it. And they'll just leave it outside of the selling points entirely. They won't even list it. They'll say, like, yeah, it has insulation. And they'll answer questions honestly, because they have to, if you ask about the insulation. But otherwise, they don't really deal with it. So, first I have to seal this place up. Now, son of a bitch. You saw the same as I did. I cleared this entire fucking place out. So that means that the filthy woman has moved on to 5-2, and she's no longer in 5-1. That's a pain in the ass, because I don't remember where she is. She's going to be on one of the islands, and it's going to be an even bigger pain in the ass. I'm just trying to find upgrade materials for this stupid mace so I can beat bear bugs a little bit more efficiently. This is how all problems are in Demon Souls. It's like a country problem. I used to call it country problems whenever I first moved out here, because like everything is like that. So like whenever I first moved out here, the land was largely untamed, and there, you know, of course it hasn't been mowed in centuries, and you can't even like get a lawnmower out there to mow the lawn. There's a bar in most lawnmowers that will push the grass down if it's over a certain height, and then the grass will not be cut because it's just been flattened out on the ground and the blades go over the top of them. So I decided to go get a scythe. Yeah, I tried a million other options. I hacked through it with the machete and stuff like that. But I decided to get a good old-fashioned Grim Reaper scythe. So then I get it, you know, and you can either spend hundreds of dollars on one new, or you can go and and buy an old-fashioned one, and you have to make a little bit of a decision there as well, because the scythe will be new. Sorry. The scythe will be, if the scythe is new, it's expensive, but if it's an antique, it's expensive. So there's like somewhere in the middle where it's a proper price that normal human beings are willing to, you know, pay. I could kill that fucking crystal lizard from a distance, but I have no guaranteed way to get over there. And you see how the small deprived, or the regular size deprived, are stronger than they were in 5.1. It take many more blasts of magic to kill. Isn't that fun, silly Willy? Of course it is. You guys are jazzed about that fact. I can tell. So this is the Poison Swamp. From Software is contractually obligated to put one in every game that they make. You get in the swamp, it slowly drains your health. You get out of the swamp, you feel slightly better about yourself. I remember where the fucking filthy woman is. She's way at the end of the swamp. Fuck. What a pain in the ass. Alright, these floating things over here. They're enemies of a type. See? Poison. Isn't that fun? Alright, how hard are they to take out in melee range? They do a lot of damage. They are scary. Did I get a couple of antidotes? I don't know. So I got the, first I had to find this scythe, and then I had to deal with the whole, you know, is it too new because then it's going to be expensive, or is it too old because then it's going to be expensive? I had to deal with that whole conundrum. And then after that whole conundrum, I then had to deal with, you know, getting the scythe and then trying to use the scythe. And the scythe was nice and rusty. So I'm like, okay, now I got to get the rust off. So I go and buy some rust off stuff. And it requires its whole, you know, hullabaloo. And then you finally get the rust off one way or the other, which may require power tools. It all depends on what is the specific thing that you're going to do to try to get the rust off. So I get the rust off of the damn thing, and it's like, okay, now it's time to sharpen it. And that particular scythe that I had chips and burrs in it. If you look down the edge of the blade, you would see like chunks cut out of it where the blade had chipped. You know, chips and burrs. So it had chips and burrs in it. And they said, you know, if there's chips and burrs in your blade, you need to peen it first. You know, what the fuck is a peen? Why do I need to do it? Peening is what you do with a ball peen hammer. And it's where you hammer on the metal slightly above where the blade is, and you just keep hammering on it, and what you're doing is stretching the metal, literally, to come down over the blade. And they said, well, if you just start hammering on it, then, you know, it's going to be a disaster, and it's not recommended that you do so. And I said, okay, well, what is recommended? So, well, it's recommended that you get a peening jig. I said, okay, let me just buy a peening jig. They're like, no, you can't buy a peening jig. You have to make a peening jig for each individual tool that you're trying to peen, so that you don't lose the edge or something like that in it. I'm like, oh my god. Okay, so how do I make a peening jig? And they're like, oh, you're going to need this other tool in order to lathe it out, and this, that, and the other. Then afterwards, there's like several steps to scythe maintenance. After every hour or so of continuous use of the scythe, you need to hone it. Like, sharpening is its own thing. Sharpening is a skill, you know. I don't know why I got close to him before I tried to heal. You bastards. This is another time that I would probably, if I wasn't on camera here, I would probably just back up and get to one of the islands and just wait for my MP to regenerate, you know. Go take out the trash, so to speak, since I burned my trash. Go cut some firewood. Clean out the cat's litter boxes. Stuff like that. Maybe make something to eat. All right. I'm finally finished with all that shit. So like, you know, first, you know, now they're like, okay, what's the fastest way to sharpen it? And they're like, oh, I use a bench grinder, and I get a bench grinder, and they're like, you can't just use a bench grinder, you have to reverse it so that it's not kicking the blade directly at you. And I said, okay, so I have to take it apart and reverse it, put it back in the right direction. And then, After all that, then I have to replace the wheel on the bench grinder with a direct equivalent that's specifically for sharpening. I have to go find sharpening compounds, which are impossible to find. And all this is just to cut my fucking grass out here. So it's a bit like a country problem. And you see these a lot whenever you're trying to do little, like, higher level things. And games like Demon Souls can kind of prepare you for it, because let's use my academic stuff, for example. You know, not only does, you know, applying for college and signing up for college and everything, not only is it its own nightmare, but also, on top of that, the classes individually can be the same. So if you look at something like what I'm trying to do, I'm in pre-med, so I'm trying to become some form of medical doctor of some type. So I'm in pre-med. Automatically, you know that there's years and years and years between me and success. You also know that it's a guaranteed path to success. That no matter what happens, this is going to work. If I can pull it off, then this is going to work. So then you start making up different things in your mind about why it can't work. You see her out there? I can't remember what the hell her actual name is, but they made a little tribute to her in Dark Souls called Maneater Mildred, and she is not the best. She is not a good person. She's not here to spread love and happiness. I'm going to see if I can lure her over to dry land. Because she can roll around and run around in the swamp, but you can't. And on top of that, they're wielding the butcher knife that I want. She's wielding the butcher knife that I want. And that butcher knife has a move that knocks you down completely. Which is a double benefit to her, because she gets to recover and move around at high speed and everything. And you get to be poisoned by the swamp. So it's an enormous fucking pain in the ass. There's 0 people on God's green earth that enjoys the inclusion of her as a character, or the way that she was handled, why she gets to live by different rules in the swamp than we do. This is going to end up being all for nothing whenever she comes over and instantly kills us with her first attack. Just one hits us. Fuck. She's gonna come out here? Finally try to fight me? Looks like she's headed this way. Did I lure her over? Looks like she might have lost interest. Hello, young lady. Fuck. What did I fucking tell you about her one-shotting us? Are you having fun yet? What the fuck am I gonna do? Anyway, I'll make some adjustments one way or the other. Anyway, let me finish some stories here. Country problems, you know. In order to be a medical doctor, you got to go. You got to go to 4 years of college to get your bachelor's degree. You also have to have like the best grades in the planet Earth, you know, bar none. Then you have to go ahead and apply for a college. And that whole thing can be kind of a pain in the ass, right? So, yeah, so first you have to find a way to go to college, and you got to do all this kind of stuff. The point of the matter is that is a matter of patience. You've got people who are literally mentally handicapped in many ways, not just the ways that I am. I'm mentally ill, not necessarily mentally handicapped. I'm not getting any compensation for my disabilities whatsoever. My medicine is free because of my service in the military and the fact that my medicine comes from Veterans Affairs. So, cat. But, you got people who are mentally handicapped that are successfully able to get through college. It is not, you know, you think that college is only for smart people or something like that. You have no evidence whatsoever that that's true. You don't go and look up IQ scores or anything like that of people who get through college, but you just assume that it's not for you. And then therefore your entire life is dedicated to something that may not even be true. It may be a lie. That the only people that can make it through college are those who are smart, you know, by some nebulous way, and some nebulous term. And people will make up 1,000 different excuses there. They'll say, oh, you know, I can't go to college because, son of a bitch, I gotta get out of here. So just respawned all of them. Does it work on this stage, period, or does it just work in that area? No, just works in that area. How disappointing. So, I'll get rid of that. I can hold more stuff.
I'll have to figure out a way to get better armor, heavier armor, something like that, to face down Man-Eater Mildred.
Well done, you sure will not take it.
What a pain in the ass. Anyways, yeah, so you make up 1,000 different reasons why it's not possible for you, and none of them are true, nor do you have any evidence for them. You're just assuming that, you know, college isn't for you, so you lock yourself out of 10,000 different career paths. And I've met way too many people that this directly applies to. There's just so many people out there that this directly applies to. They just assume that college isn't for them. They're not smart enough or whatever. Second thing is, so Demon Souls can get you used to some country problems. So you got to do this in order to do that. You got to do this in order to do that. You know, yes, I've got to go through all of this college to become a doctor, but like I said, it's a guaranteed path. If I make it, then I'm middle class forever after. I've escaped the trailer park. I've escaped my poverty and everything, and I have the power to drag anybody else who wants to come with me out of poverty as well, all because of patience, not because of any innate ability, any IQ, anything like that. It's all because of patience. So you can replace skill with patience. That's what this entire walkthrough and playthrough is all about. You know, fuck getting good, just be patient, and you can develop patience, and it can apply to many different situations. And so even with stuff like my physics homework, whenever I was in physics classes, you know, it would say, you know, there's a couple of slugs, you know, there's a couple of jars of random water, and they all weigh a certain number of slugs, and you know how much is the volume of each of these jars based on what they weigh. So first you have to look up what the fuck is a slug, and then you have to convert it, and then you have to, you know, figure out the density of water to figure out how much is in each jar and how big the jar would have to be in order to contain that amount of water. And then you just put like at least this, at least that as the answer. You know, it's country problems. There's 10,000 little things that you have to solve before you get to the real thing. And that's how real life works the vast majority of the time. And it can be exhausting, but if you take everything one step at a time, then you can go. You don't need to see the whole staircase in order to take the first step. Your headlights on your car, they only light up a couple feet of the road, maybe a couple 100 feet, but each time that you drive in total darkness, it gets you there anyways. And I'm building this flat box out of free wood pallets from a local company. I found a company that will let me have as many as they like. I've met with the person that decides whether or not people get pallets, and he said it's okay. They're perfectly fine with it. And I've gone to the local mall and dug out plenty of cardboard, and people use cardboard as insulation all over the place. So I'm building a box out of cardboard and wood pallets in order to solve all the problems within this trailer. And none of that would have been possible if I didn't know about the rules around here. If I could only build things 100 square foot because of the building codes here, then I would have to design it differently, the box that I'm going to try to build and live in. But with knowing that there's no building codes out here, I have the freedom to do whatever the fuck I want. So, you know, knowing the rules of the game, using that knowledge to your advantage can bring a lot of goodness to your life. Anyways, I'm about to end, so see you next time.